TM Hyman, Leadership on Demand. So excited about today's interview because it's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Listen, nobody has as much energy and as much positivity as this guy, my next guest. We call him Mr. Sunshine on Clubhouse, and he has earned that name rightfully so. My guy, Ramon Ray. Man, good morning. Good
TM
afternoon.
Hyman, what's going on, man?
What's going on,
If
brother?
Mr. Sunshine, you must be Mr. Ray of knowledge. That's what I want to say. Every time you speak, you drop a knowledge nugget. But TM, good to see you. Clubhouse has definitely brought us together in a variety of ways, and I appreciate being here and talking to the TM Hyman community. Leadership on Demand. So
Leadership on Demand, man. Listen, I think leadership is something that we just got to rebuild in this country, rebuild in the world, right? I mean, it's lacking in a major way. And so for me, I want to be the change I want to see in the world, right? And leadership is one of those things. You are a respected leader, in my opinion. We share stages all the time on Clubhouse.
Yes.
You're my peer, a moderating peer on Clubhouse. But man, you
5 a.m.
Listen, it takes special people to get up and be so consistent, and we are certainly consistent, right? But Glenn said, if you want to make a massive change, you will make a change in your life, right? Change your routine. You got to make a massive change in your routine, and we clearly have done that. And I'll tell you, Breakfast of Champions, Glenn Lundy, you, and so many others have impacted me, bro, in so many ways. I've leveled up. Prior to us hitting record on this, we were talking about leveling up, right? I've been podcasting for a long time, but just the audible aspect, just the voice. My first job was in radio. But when you talk about adding video, right, into the podcast arena, it changes the games. Visuals are important. Ramon Ray, tell us who you are in like a 60-second commercial.
Sure. Ramon Ray is a serial entrepreneur. I've started 5 companies in the variety of spaces, and small business growth has been and is my passion, but I'm expanding to a few other things. So recently, zoneofgenius.com. I'm the editor of zoneofgenius.com, where we inspire people to live their best life, similar to what we do on BWC. Also started a new business in the aspect of leadership and personal protection with our mutual friends, Scott Simons and Adam Smith, and I'm a keynote speaker. So I speak around the world, literally, on stages, either keynoting, usually about business, and or just hosting the event. And as a host, even though you have the light, it's shining the spotlight on other people. So that's who Ramon Ray is, unapologetically positive.
Unapologetically positive. I love that tagline because it's true, bro. You bring so much joy, right, to so many people every time you crack the mic. Unapologetically positive. Ramon, like, RamonRay.com. You are the founder of Smart Hustle.
Oh, Smart Hustle too? Yes, Smart Hustle.
SmartHustle.com,
yes.
Which you just sold. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And now the founder, operator of zoneofgenius.com. Like, you introduced the concept of digital real estate and exiting rich with digital real estate. Let's talk about Smart Hustle first, right? And what you've done recently, which brought about Zone of Genius.
Yeah, and I must say, full disclosure to many of our friends on the platform, real estate, and I'm not sure if you're a real estate investor, TM, but not that I am. You ain't good. So saying can't, I know you don't like me to use those words, TM. I want to be careful the words I say with TM, but I have not yet dipped my toe fully into the water. It's just like mortgage and the stuff that Grant Cardone, the dashboard, and if you buy it for this, it's just woo.
But digital real estate,
That's what I'm getting to, saying paying $9 to GoDaddy, buying a domain, and $200 to some WordPress stuff, build that over 2 or 3 years, that I can wrap my head around. Go ahead, though.
And you've done it in a major way. No, talk about how you've done that, right? Because there is a difference. Like, Ramon, I own 12 digital real estate properties.
Okay.
12, right? I purchased them on Upland.
Okay.
Upland, right? But this is a whole different, what you're doing is a whole different type of digital real estate. We're talking domain names, right? Domain names. tell us what you just did with the domain you founded, smarthustle.com.
Sure. So in 2015, so prior to that, my company before that was smallbiztechnology.com, another domain I had bought for, I think that it was available. So I bought that domain and I put a lot of great content on it, focused around Ramon Ray's version of how I see the world. So that was technology focused for small business success. After a while, TM, I got bored, I'll put with it, meaning, the technology had advanced. The technology is important today, but it's different than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, what printer should I buy? Should I get a modem or not? Fax machines, copiers, it's just different. Scanners and things are important. But today, so many people are on the cloud. It's a different, a lot of the technology is embedded into the software you use. So I moved away from there, wanted to talk about small business growth, broader finance and leadership and mindset and starting a business. And a few weeks ago, as we discussed this, TM, a company came and said, Ramon, we'll offer you a good multiple for what you built. And I said, amen. So shall it be done. And that was it. And then at the same time, I had bought the domain Zone of Genius. And the playbook for that, TM, is simply, it's easy, it's harder, it's easier said than done, but is producing great content, leveraging the power of SEO, building a community. Monetization of that could be clothing, could be sponsored posts. Full disclosure, people pay me to put posts on there for, above board. I say it's sponsored, and events and more. So that's the business model.
Man, and you clearly have established a blueprint that works because you've done it multiple times, right? zoneofgenius.com. Talk about the new venture, Zone of Genius, which is all about living a fulfilled life, right? Live life fulfilled, I think, is the tagline.
That's right. Well, you do your homework, Tim. I've got to watch what I say.
Listen, I lean in and study those I really admire and like, man, and you're one of those people.
Thank you. Yeah, I was tired of hearing our mutual friends, Mike Zeller and other Zone of Genius, Tamara and other Zone of Genius. I'm like, you know what? Let me just see if this phrase is available because I'm sick of it in a fun way. I'm tired of them saying it.
Winner.
Yes, and the domain was available. I got that a few months ago, give or take. And then the opportunity happened where I decided to build. So the bottom line of this, TM, if I can bring together fitness, faith, family, finances, and mindset, and that's a broad spectrum. I know some people say, Ramon, don't you have to target a bit? Who's your audience? Is it young people? Is it career people? I must say, TM, I haven't figured that out precisely yet. Some people say, Ramon, well, how could you not? You tell us about these books. True, but I know if I produce great content, I will get a lot of people reading the content, and the rest I can figure out later. Sounds weird, but I'm just not one who has the whole chapter written. I know it's going to be a book. I know it's going to be about a bad guy and a good guy. Where they're from, I don't know yet. And how they'll die, I don't know. It's in the metaphor of a book, but I know it's going to be good.
Because you've established the blueprint.
Yes.
I mean, you just said content, SEO, build a community. For those who are not familiar with search engine optimization, SEO, let's talk about that and why that's so significant. Because you talk about it a lot.
Sure. Well, if you Google the word Zone of Genius, you'll see probably Forbes, I think, has the link. I would do it live right now, but just Google Zone of Genius. Somebody, I think, at Forbes and a few other places own the highest ranking of that. So I don't have to win, TM, to have first results of content. But one play is SEO. As people start searching on words, how can I get them to come with zoneofgenius.com, which will raise traffic? But number two is to have other voices, such as TM and other voices that we will say, listen, we don't need you to do extra work. We will take what you've already said and put content online in your voice. That means if TM said, wait a minute, I got an article on zoneofgenius.com and I didn't do anything because you already spoke it, you already have segments, we will put that on our platform with your permission. So that's number two. And then three, we will have our own in-house writers writing great content. So that's our playbook to be a niche, a small, no bones about it. I'm not trying to be Ariana Huffington on Thrive Global. I'll give props to her. They probably have millions of views. But if I can get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who I'm every day adding value to on zoneofgenius.com, we will be a success.
and I will be providing content so that I can have an article or two
Yeah,
or three on
that's right.
zoneofgenius.com forthcoming.
That's right.
Listen, we just gonna keep talking about these domain names because you're also the author of
Yeah.
celebrityceo.com. How did you become the celebrity CEO?
Sure. And I invite not just me, but everybody can be the celebrity CEO. So, what is a celebrity CEO, TM? Celebrity CEO is based on two related principles. One, well, three related principles. Seth Godin kind of hinted on this in an article he wrote, Famous to Your Cousin. Most people in the world don't know me, don't know TM either, and don't know most people. Trump, Obama, Kardashians, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, and a handful of others are known. Most of us, though, don't have that. But we all can be famous to your cousin. That means I bet there's a room in a precise situation TM can walk into, and people be like, wait a minute, either I know that face or I know that voice, or is that TM? That's famous to your cousin. So Seth Godin touched on that. So the celebrity CEO is challenging every small business owner. You can't, I know a word we shouldn't use, but arguably speaking, you can't be known to the world. It's just too much. Even somebody like a Grant Cardone or Simon Sinek. My mother don't know Simon Sinek. So at a certain level, but we can be known in our industry in a particular niche. So that's what that means. You have a person like Gino Wickman. I think his name is Gino Wickman, right? Many people know his books Traction. Most entrepreneurs read it.
Yeah.
But TM, let's face it. You go to the average person, your mama, my mama, our grandparents, our daddy who's working. Gino Wickman, who the heck is that?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please check out celebrityceo.com. He just said it, right? You can be the celebrity of your industry, of your niche, right? You could be famous to your cousin, right? It starts somewhere. Why have you devoted your career to this type of work?
Yeah. I think once you start to do something and you get a little older, you fall into it, TM. So for some reason, I've been blessed, and I guess I bought my first domain or one of them in April 1999. So I'm almost 50. So my generation, for those listening, and for your context, Prodigy, AOL, CompuServe, slow modems, 9600 baud, to give you a time frame. I don't even remember the year. If you know it, let me know. But that's where I started with the internet. Fax machines were still hot. I remember with the Mosaic browser. So whatever reason, TM, I could have been in electronics. My dad was an electrician. I used to love to put together Radio Shack little radio kits and things where you have a little spring and you turn it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I think, Tim, once I got that, I fell in love with the world of content. I remember Black Enterprise and Inc. magazine gave me writing contracts early on to write for them. So I think the love of writing, the love of tech, evolving to the love of business overall and how it uses tech, that's been my forte. So the content side, blogging, before it was called blogging, just saving articles, something called FTP, file transfer protocol. That was when I was blogging. And then over time, I realized that I had a gift to communicate and speak. And I say that humbly because a lot of things I do wrong, TM, but that is one thing. Once people pay you and pay you money to do it, you have to own it and accept it and say, God, thank you for the ability to do that. So those two things, speaking and content, those are my two fortes.
And clearly they are, listen, I would ask you what your strengths are, but I think you display what your strengths are daily and consistently. And what you just called out clearly are strengths, right? You know how to deliver content like nobody's business, bro. Like, it's like, this guy's freaking amazing. Like, and so, where many of us, well, those who mod on Breakfast of
Sure.
Champions, we have segments, right? And I think some of us have a challenge just coming up with a topic, but
Sure.
you're like a ninja when it comes to content and topics, bro. You hit like 5 in your period, which is unbelievable. And clearly a speaker, right? And great event host.
No, I appreciate that, Tim.
No, absolutely, Ramon. You have worked with tons of big brands. Um, did the focus on big brands come out of relationship, or did it come out of intentionality, or did it come out of both? Like you just mentioned, Black Enterprise, right? I mean, I know you work with companies like AT&T and so many other big brands in the finance industry and in the tech space. Like, how did that come about? Relationships or intentionality?
I think a little bit of both. And here's why I still deliver both, because I wish I could remember precisely how I unlock the key or the game. Everything, and team, let me know if you have an better example, let me know. But there's some times where and I think everybody, not everybody, but many people have this, where you just can unlock something. You're watching other people doing something and you're like, oh, I got it. Not everybody sees it. I'm not saying I'm special, but in that sponsorship, that's what I own. And I'm sure you own it in real estate, things you do, right? So for somehow, TM, I just realized, and let me sidetrack here. It works in a bad way too, TM. Several hosts and friends who've been in abusive relationships. I think, who was it? Stephen Kuhn or others have said, Daddy walked home. They had to guess and understand which version of dad was coming in. So my point is, at a young age, we all learn the trick to whatever it is, right? Those who play basketball, getting back on point. For some reason, I got the aspect, TM, okay, if I produce some level of audience, not millions, but some reasonable level of audience, which is still small compared to some makeup influencer, but a level of audience that's engaged, that's focused on small business, there's some company out there that will pay me for it. Let's take a company like Zoho, take a company like PayPal and Microsoft. TM, as we know, they spend what? Hundreds of thousands, millions a year on broad ads. They don't need me or you for that. They don't need us for that. But they have budget set aside. Hey, Ramon, can we give you 10,000 for this, 20,000 for that, 50,000 for that? Crumbs. And I can live very well with 10 to 20 clients giving me crumbs every year. So I unlocked and realized if I have content, and then also, TM, as you may know, that morphs into events. So I've been doing, 2005 was my vision for my first event, and I produced it in 2006. So for the next 10, 15 years, and even online, I even produce in-person events. So the similar concept, if you bring together people, and let's say TM's the marketing manager of Dell, he has budget. He has to spend it on something because he's not spending it on Super Bowl ads. That's a different team. I don't go there. I'm going for the guy. Okay, I got a budget and I got to sponsor 10 events this year. Now it's for me to lose. It's for me to lose because he wants to spend that money. And that's the other, if it's helpful to people, the trick, as it were. Okay, it's not broadcast advertising. Nope. Not magazine advertising. Nope. This is the guy whose job is to spend money on smaller events. Now I can fit into your game.
Yeah. Yeah. Know what you're good at, right? Present it in a way that has value, and then connect with entities, people, organizations who can benefit from that value.
That's right. That's right, Tim, all day long. And I think that's where when people mention the corporate name, I wish Starbucks would sponsor me. I know what they mean, but I try to share, I get what you mean, but let's take it more narrow. The local manager of the Starbucks store who has a small budget to sponsor plastic tables. Yeah. That's your guy. Stop trying to call the Schultz guy in Seattle or wherever, Portland. Not your guy.
Not your guy. Know who your guy is, Ramon. Know who your guy is. Ramon, what's the greatest lesson that you would share with your younger self or teach to your younger self? That guy who had no idea how to present, right, a sponsorship proposal to a major Fortune 500 business. What's that lesson that you would teach him?
I'll answer it two ways if I may. If I'm cheating and breaking TM's rules, y'all forgive me.
Please,
two ways I will. One is definitely to slow down, TM. You and I have rolled for a few months now, and you kind of get my cadence. So I can be a bit fast. It's kind of endearing and nice, on a podcast, talking fast, rapid, but it's not good in some ways. So, and you may have that strength, right, TM? We have different strengths, So even where I speak fast and think fast, it's a good thing. But I do wish to tell my younger self over the years, some things I've done that were stupid. I wish I would have thought more, lost money, took longer if I wouldn't have been so fast. Like, just Ramon, take one day and sleep on it. That's just not me. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then let's do it. So that's one. But I must say what I'm blessed to do well, if I can add it to that, because I think it covers, it balances the mistakes I may make, is that I love people. And so even though I may screw up, I've been given and I feel like crying a little bit here because I've been given a lot of forgiveness, because even if I screwed up, they're like, Ramon, it's okay. You were here early and we just like you, Ramon, even though you screwed up. So that's how I roll, if that makes sense. I don't screw up a lot, but the times I have, it's balanced out because I'd like to think that I like people and people like me.
Yeah.
So even though I may be a little fast, it helps. That makes sense. Is that helpful to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think slowing down for you again, that's that high energy, bro, and that positivity. And I think it actually it represents your brand very well. But I do understand pacing. I
Yeah.
do understand the ability to pace. I want to reflect back on something that I learned.
Mm.
So I worked with at that time Senator Barack Obama. I did national media for him in Florida, right? That earned his first run in 2008, right? But now the don't go there. I said Senator Barack
I
Obama,
heard you.
but I understand that you had an opportunity to interview live online President
I
Barack
did.
Obama. How did that come about?
Well, and when I was interviewing him, he asked me, "Do you know TM Hyman?" And I said, "Mr. President, I do." And so we started. He wouldn't get off talking about you, and we had a good old time talking about,
So
Um,
wild, man.
but no, that was serendipitous. That wasn't serendipitous, but Google had a contest, as I understand it, back in the day when Google Hangout was popular, and I guess because of stay at home and stuff, they're trying to come back and take over Zoom. But Google had a contest, and I applied to interview the president. It's my understanding, TM, that about 300,000 people, I don't remember where I got the number, but I
Wow,
believe the producers told me
wow.
applied to interview the president. And me and four others were chosen to interview him. So it was an opportunity that came. Somebody from Google was like, "Hey, Ramon, put your hat in the ring." I put my hat in the ring and took my shot. And there were several hurdles I had to get over. Did you vote for the president? I'm not going to reveal that answer. But the point being, it wasn't what you think it was. No, they just wanted to know the full spectrum. What are your politics? What aren't your politics? What would you interview the president? Because they did want, no pun intended, a diverse crowd. And so I was able to, I think it's kind of like, American Idol, beyond the talent. They want certain personalities. They want the quiet person. "Hi, Mr. President, my name is Jenny." And they want, "Yo, what's up, President?" They want the guy who's going to say, "Are you a racist?" They want a good, and you have to, so going back, TM, you
Right.
got to kind of know the game, even if you don't know all the rules. You have to feel the game, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can imagine that brought about just a little bit of stress, bro. Which leads into my next question. How did you handle not just the stress of that, but how do you, with such high energy, handle stress in general?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I must say, for those who are not, but for me, my faith in Christ and God is really important to me. So,
Amen.
my
Amen.
mind is tuned to Him. But for those who are not, um, God wires us all different, TM. And I know some
Facts.
people who tell me straight up. I volunteer quite a bit, as I know you do, and help people and volunteer for a thing like a senior banquet for a local high school. And one or two of the students there, uh, three people asked me for soda. I forgot what kind it was, Mr. Ray. I'm like, it's okay.
Calm
So,
down.
you know,
Absolutely. Relax.
so I think for me, and on the other hand, Tia, my wife has said, like, my daughter one day, she reminded me, got something stuck in her throat or got cut here. I was freaking out. So there's different times, different situations, but I try, Tim, not to major on the minor
Yeah.
things. For example, you and I are doing a live broadcast, and it's not the Academy Awards, and something goes with the feed. Well, you know what? The 2 million people watching this, they just gonna have to wait. Now, if I'm doing an operation on some little girl's heart, well, that's a problem, and we'll have to, you to get what I mean. So, silly example, but I think stress and things like this, TM, I'm really good at letting things go, forgetting things,
Yeah.
not worrying about it. Where other people would say, "Wait, let's not start the show yet. The flowers aren't quite right." You know what? They just gonna have to not be quite right. My zipper's
Absolutely.
undone. That's okay. Let's rock the video with it undone. Let's keep
Right.
moving.
That's
That's
right.
me.
That's right. I think you called out the faith piece, which
Mm,
I agree is extremely
yeah.
important. I can't do probably any of it. I don't even want to try to do any of it, without being centered, right, and grounded in faith. For me, it just comes down to always trying to not be perfect, but make the right decision
Yes.
at all times, right? I impact too many people. And so I never want to come from an emotional place, right? Or all about me kind of place. And faith certainly helps me with that. When so many things going through my head, but I want to
Absolutely,
go back
TM.
to servant leadership. You
Sure.
said something about you said something that triggered in my mind the service,
Mm,
helping others.
yes. Very
Why
important.
why is service specifically and servant leadership so important to you? Because you're a servant leader. I've seen it live. I see it virtually, but I've seen it live. We were in New York
Yeah.
together. We were in Lexington, Kentucky together. And I've seen you, bro, serve in a way that, I mean, clearly anyone who understands servant leadership's like, that's a servant leader right there. I don't even know his name,
No.
but that's a
Well, thank
servant
you.
leader right there. Why is that so important to
Thank
you,
you.
Ramon?
And we are servants leaders, but thank you. I will accept that. I think there's three types of ways you can operate at an event, in an environment. You can do the same thing in your home too, or life in general. But I think, TM, you can be the person who shines, who overtly leads. And we need those people. Imagine you and I do an event, TM, it got your name on it, and you're like, I can't talk. No, dude, you better get up and talk. It's your event. There's no time to be humble. I mean, you can be humble, but no time to, not be up there. TM has to shine. He has to take the mic and be up there. So that's one type of leadership person. Second person is the attendees. We need people to sit and listen to TM and clap and smile and etc.
Yeah.
That's a time for that. Everybody can't be on stage. There's the third type that not many people maybe want is serving TM. How can TM change the world? How can he go if Ramon's not right behind him, just simply holding his tie? Say, my brother, I ironed your tie for you. It's ready. How can TM serve people if you have to think about that? TM, I got your shoe shine. Or TM, I picked up the trash. Or TM doesn't even know it that he was going to trip, but I moved the wire before he went on stage. He don't even know it. So in that silly example, TM, I think that's where there's people need to understand, yeah, I'm Ramon Ray. I produced this, that, and the other, but it's my brother's event. I'm gonna carry the cake to the room and have it ready for him. So that's how I see life, Tim. And I must say, for me, I do enjoy the service part. And anybody who works with me and sees it, sometimes my team has to remind me, Ramon, you're hosting the event. People are in line to see you. Stop cleaning up tables. That's just me. I like it. I do.
Yeah.
Even in my house. TM, I won't cook, brother. Can I confess? Can I confess something to you, TM?
Please do.
Tim, the steak can be ready, the fish, rice. Daddy going to the Chinese restaurant or Domino's Pizza. I am not cooking nothing. I can't stand cooking. But Ramon will clean the stove like nobody's business.
Yeah. Nice. It's a part of the servant leadership in the service because, listen, I hate to see trash on the ground. I hate to see trash on the floor of a house, but I hate to see trash on the ground, like even outside. So I will pick up trash, bro, and it's like, why did you just do that? Why did you just do it? It's a reflex, right? It's truly a reflex. So I absolutely get it.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, though, TM?
Yeah.
Do you find sometimes because I find this the case, that sometimes I'm doing too much or I shouldn't? There's been times where my wife or my daughter has said, Dad, and I get what they mean, that Dad, you picked up 400 pieces of paper. It's like, we have a cleaning staff. You need to stop. Or one day, TM, and I got their point. I was bussing tables at an event that I was an executive at. It just came natural. My wife said, Ramon, due to certain optics, I won't get into. She said, you could have just left that alone. But I was going around. So what do you think, TM? Is there certain times where you kind of just have to let that itch, or, like?
I've learned to just kind of flow.
Yes.
I have to do what seems to be the right thing for me.
Fair enough.
Right. And I don't think there's ever a time that you're wrong for modeling behavior that people can appreciate. Right. I think seeing you pick up trash, seeing you bust tables, says, okay, let me do that. Let me help. Right. And so it's leadership, bro. So no, I think we can often feel ourselves into others like we're doing too much, but really we're just modeling leadership.
Fair
at the end of the day. Ramon, tell us about a time where you faced adversity and overcame it.
Yeah. And what was the last two words? Faced
and
adversity and?
overcame it.
Yes.
Faced
Um,
adversity and overcome.
Yeah, the most recent TM was 2020 when the country, America, and the world was shut down. I think, yeah, 2020. Yeah, I recall that when President Trump, it was the 15th of January, February, March 15th, I believe it would have been. Yeah, March, April. Yeah, March 15th. I think that was the time period. South by Southwest, big tech event. I
Yeah.
was refreshing the screen. And they said it's closed. And at that time, for me, and my point of view, kind of like people talking about 9/11 and things, where were you at? I was like, no, this is not real. I heard of COVID and all this January, February.
Ain't real.
Yeah, I just came back from CES. I'm like, okay, we had CES, it's fine. But there were inklings of people coughing and masks and all this. The point being, when the world shut down, team, I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I recall I went to Wednesday night Bible study, prayed, and I was inspired, TM, to do a Survive and Thrive conference. I sold 3 big sponsorships, and that carried my family through for a while. My point being, there's been times like this where you thought, what am I going to do? And I think for me, the biggest way out of it was not, somebody coming on a donkey cart, dropping potatoes in front of my home. If anybody knows that old story from some preacher. But for me, it was inspiration.
Yeah.
I'll be wondering, okay, this is not going right. How do I do this? And I'll be inspired. That's what I should do. And so, but for me, it was when the pandemic hit, TM, and things closed down, I was inspired to do 1 or 2 or 3 large events that were very, very successful. So
Congratulations. We all had to pivot, right? Because COVID scared the hell out of all of us. Specifically, listen, I've never experienced anything in my life in which I thought had the ability to shut churches down.
yes.
Something serious when church comes to a halt, right?
Right.
And so, I have so many theories, about that. But I think at the end of the day, that was a higher power, bringing all of us to our knees to a certain degree, right?
Absolutely.
Ramon, they say that money is the root of all evil. I have learned that it's far from the truth. But how important is money?
Yeah. No, I love the question. Of course, the love of money is the root of all evil.
That's the
For
real
sure.
deal.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, I think, TM, if you wake up in the morning and you're just trying to now assuming you're out of survival mode. I'm not talking about survival mode, counting this, do I have $7 to pay for gas or feed myself? Not that scenario. But for those who have some money and they got food at the table, at least, if you wake up in the morning just counting your money, I gotta make an extra 100,000, gotta make extra 50,000. I'm not a millionaire yet. I think you're missing something. And I think the key should be, can I build something in value, especially for business owners? Do I know how to operate my business? Or for those who are working in a company, right? Am I operating in this business well? Am I doing honestly? Am I doing the best I can and more? Am I taking training? Am I being a good person? Then the money will flow. Most of the time, the money's not flowing because you're doing something wrong. You're at your company, you have a nasty attitude, you're coming in late, whatever it may be, and you're wondering why the money's not there. Well, that's why. Or you're in business, your sales are not right, you're not following up. So I think that trying to focus on, let me get extra money, I get it. But the focus should be on, let me serve, let me add value, let me build a great business. And then most of the time, money will flow. Now, there's tips and tricks and things you can learn. People like TM can help you get your mindset right, coach you a bit. But overall, focus on the execution of the mechanics of what you're doing. Sports, I'm not Michael Jordan. I don't follow sports. Maybe you do, TM, but I can imagine, yes, he wanted to win and all that. But I bet he focused on, I got to sink this basket. And if I sink the basket 40 times, whatever it may be, that's 80 points, if you feel what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely. No, you said it very well. And I think, again, it's the love of money. It's the love of money. It's when you put the money ahead of the purpose, ahead of the mission, right? Ahead of the plan. Because if it's a viable plan, right, and it's a well thought out plan, if you execute effectively and think about the people who you're serving, right, the money's going to flow. The money's absolutely going to flow. You are in a business in which you help small businesses, large businesses, to appear more credible, more authentic. What's the number one thing that you think is in the way? The number one obstacle for small businesses today trying to become more credible, more authentic?
Yeah, I think your fear of what other people think. And I understand that totally. As children, we have this sometimes. It grows as we get older. But I think the fear of what will they think about me? I'm not as good as TM. I'm not as smart as Nancy. Oh, he has this. So I think that fear holds us back. And the best way to be you is be you. Learn how to enhance and maybe do a little better, but just take what you have and be better at it. That's the best way to do that, TM.
Absolutely. But Ramon, as we get ready to wind this thing down, man, who has been like the greatest impact like on your life? Who's been most influential?
There's been a few people, TM. Seth Godin definitely is my professional guy. I really like his vibe, his style, how he's built his company, how he speaks. I like that quite a bit. I must say, being around several people on BWC has helped. And two gentlemen I would shout out. One is Yakov Urinsky. He's my same age, TM, but you may have people who are similar to you in age, but they've done things different or a little bigger than you. When I was at the United Nations before I got fired, I would sit at his desk, cry at his desk, learn from him. He would show me how companies were built because he had a real company team. He had a receptionist. He had employees. And I was just dreaming that. And so just seeing him. And then my good friend who passed away many years ago, older gentleman, Mr. Chidambaranathan, Hindu guy. I'm a Christian. And we were best of friends. Older. He's like 80 or 90 or 100 years old, when I was like 30 and 40. But Ramon, slow down. And I'm mimicking his voice in honor and respect. Ramon, slow down. Ramon, listen. You're angry right now. Don't write the letter. Write it tomorrow. No, Ramon, slow down. No, just please, Ramon, slow down. So that was Mr. Chidambaranathan, who I love so much. And he just taught me the art of slowing down. He tried to. Now Larissa Harrington does it, but he taught me the art of slowing down.
Ramon, you just mentioned the United Nations, which brought back a thought. I read somewhere where you attended, and I want to know, what is this? What is the FBI Citizens Academy? What is that?
That's the plaque. Oh, it's not right behind me now, but behind me there. And basically, the FBI Citizens Academy is an ambassador program where the FBI picks certain citizens, from pastors to clergy to doctors to lawyers to coaches to small business owners and et cetera, from the local community, and takes them to a 10-week course and gives them a kind of an opening view of the FBI. We do a little bit of handgun training. We do briefings. We talk to some of the most experts in anthrax, crime, gang warfare, things you see on TV. There's guys who come in, oh, you see that movie about so on and so forth? I put the bug under the table to eavesdrop on them. Those are the people we talk to. So it was something really, really good. I got a little plaque from Robert Mueller. Some of us may know that name. So it was really good.
Wow. You're such a fascinating person, man. And I could continue to just sit and talk for hours. And I plan to lean in a little bit more, specifically as, man, you challenged me to do a newsletter over a month ago. And I think I'm probably in the 5th week, of like iterations of the content, man. And I feel so good about it because, one, it's what I like to do, create, but it's consolidated. It looks good, but I go to Smart Hustle still. I've been on Zone of Genius, and man, the functionality of it, I've got to get on the WordPress train. You even shared some tips and strategies and software this morning, Breakfast Champions, that I'm going to apply. But I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the celebrity CEO, Ramon Ray. SmartHustle.com, zoneofgenius.com, celebrityceo.com, RamonRay.com.
That's it.
Listen, before we get out of here, Ramon, for real, like, bro, one, thank you so much. First and foremost,
you're welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. But what is like one piece of advice? People are trying to get exposure. They're trying to be seen. What's one piece of advice that you can share in your experience that people can use to just level up? How can people get more exposure, get more attention in their business?
There's so many different ways, but I think the person who can best articulate with a little bit of engagement will win the day. There's a lot I could say, but if I had to pick one, articulate what you do, be a bit engaging. Doesn't have to be funny, but be a bit engaging about it. Over time, you'll win the day.
Then you'll win the day, my friends. And so I thought that was my last question, but this is a leadership podcast, right?
Please.
So I have to ask you, like, what are the greatest leadership attributes from your perspective? I mean, there are
Sure.
tons, right? But man, I admire you and your servant leadership so much as a servant leader myself. What are the attributes of a great leader?
And by the way, before I answer that, TM, thank you for having me. Thank you for the work you do, Leadership on Demand. Thank you for this podcast and all you do on Clubhouse and more. I know you impact lives in so many ways, TM. So I want to uplift and thank you for what you do. And definitely, I think a few aspects, or one aspect I could think of of leadership. There was a principal that was a principal of my small private school when I was in high school and middle school. His name was Terry Harris, and his wife's name was Ruthie Harris. I just saw them a few weeks ago at a church conference. And this man was a wonderful administrator. Like all of us, he was a faulty man. I think he had an anger problem, maybe, or things like this, as I recall, things like this. But we pushed his buttons a lot and provoked him, TM. But the thing I recall with him, TM, he had no problem apologizing. He would bring them once or twice. He didn't do it a lot because that's kind of an issue, right? But once or twice I can recall bringing the whole school together. I recall vaguely, and just apologizing, saying, "Hey guys, I was wrong. Tim, you can't fault a man like that. You can't." And that's why I love that man so much. His name is Terry Harris. And I think that's the best of leadership, because you don't have to know everything, Tim. As Denzel said, you can hire an MBA. That's easy. So those who have MBAs, I'm not saying anything against you, but you can hire that. But being able to lead people and apologize and say, "I'm sorry,"
Yeah.
or say, "I don't know it all,"
that's
beautiful.
Yeah. Man, I absolutely agree with that. I think Judge was just giving us some tips this morning. And one of the tips he said to being a great manager, right? It was the concept of, giving people feedback in private,
Yes.
but praising them in public. And, I think I added on, right? But
Yes.
also apologizing publicly.
Right.
I have had to apologize publicly as a leader. And although it's awkward and uncomfortable, it's the right thing to do, specifically when you have given misinformation publicly, right? But what I learned is that, man, it builds trust and credibility like nobody's business. It has been an honor and a pleasure to hang with you, my friend, the celebrity CEO, Ramon Ray. Check him out at RamonRay.com, thecelebrityceo.com. Listen, visit smarthustle.com, but we really need you to rally around zoneofgenius.com. Be on the lookout, visit the site, subscribe, and my guy.
God bless you, brother.
Right back at you, man.